In this lesson, we'll be learning about the availability statuses and how they work. Because there's so much to cover, these will be in 3 sections. Section 1, Introduction to the Availability Status. Section 2, Configuration of the Availability Status. And Section 3, Using the Availability Status. The availability status is important to understand and use properly. It says how your line handles calls and tells other people in your company where you are. You don't want calls going to the wrong place or people thinking you're in their office when you're not. There are 5 statuses that will fall into 3 categories. I'm available, I'm not at my desk, and I'm not at work. Let's look at how to configure these. To configure your availability statuses, click the 3 dots, click Settings, and then click Status. At the top right is a drop-down to configure each status. The first 3, Available, Away, and Do Not Disturb, can have descriptions added but cannot be renamed. The last 2, Lunch and Business Trip by default, can have custom names and descriptions, but the purpose cannot be changed. The final option in the drop-down is Exception. This allows you to set exceptions that override the availability status behavior. The first availability status is Available. This setting is for when you're working and ready for calls. At the top is your custom status message. You can put something like, I'm working from my home. And this will show in the People tab. You can see here. For available status, you can set it to handle internal and external calls differently. So you can see we have a section for unanswered calls, for external calls, and internal calls. These both have the same options, but you can see them here. The voicemail, this forwards unanswered calls to your voicemail. Extension number, this forwards unanswered calls to another extension. You can set to go directly to their voicemail. So if we click extension number and an extension here, and tell it go to you can see there is I set myself, so actually switching back to voicemail. Click extension number and someone else, such as Stephen Hawking, and then voicemail. When someone calls, after the 20 seconds of no answer, it will roll over to Stephen Hawking and directly to his voicemail rather than ringing his phone. We also have external number. This will dial to an outside number, such as 888-526-1631. You can also send to a system extension. This forwards unanswered calls to a system extension, such as a call queue or conference lines. You can send busy. This will send a busy tone to the caller. And for internal calls, you can have same as all calls, so this will just match whatever your external calls here does. Going down, we have busy or not registered. These are a bit confusing, so a little explanation is needed. Busy means your line is set not to accept multiple calls, down here. And you're already talking to someone, sort of like before we all had cell phones. So when someone calls, it will not roll over to your multiple calls or to your cell phone, so it will immediately do whatever action we tell it to do here, which is go to my voicemail. An unregistered extension means there are no extensions turned on for this number. So no hard lines, no cell phones, or no desk phones, or soft phones. As we saw above, we can handle external calls and internal calls separately. Moving down to general options, we have also ring my mobile, accept multiple calls, and accept push notifications. If you have also ring my mobile enabled, it will ring both your desk phone and your soft phone and your cell phone if you have it configured in your 3.6 account. This will not work if you don't have your cell phone already programmed into your 3.6 account. Accept multiple calls will allow people to call you while you're already talking to someone else. They'll show up as another line and wait for you to be free, or go wherever you have the unanswered calls option set above. Accept push notifications is a good idea to enable this and leave it alone. This lets 3.6 send call notifications to you rather than waiting on your 3.6 desktop client to check for calls. It's not really a significant difference, but does help and doesn't hurt to have it set. Now scrolling up, we skipped over this a little bit. We'll come back to it though. To no answer timeout. What this does is after this many seconds, it will form these actions. 20 seconds is the default and is generally okay. If you're further away from your desk or you're not available most of the time, you can set it for higher, but keep in mind that if you set it for too high, people will just give up rather than let it roll over to voicemail or someone else. Let's move on to the away status. You'll notice it looks a little different than available. It doesn't need all the options that the available status has. At the top, we still have our custom status message. We can say away, such as away from my desk. And as normal, we will see it here. Actually, I have to set my status. Stay away from my desk, and you'll see it changes colors. Moving back to that. Or you can make it something like meeting. The other two options, for internal calls and for external calls, are the same as we saw in the available status. You will notice the addition of the out of office hours voicemail option though. But this one's a bit complex. If you're forwarding to another extension and your 3CX server is in an out of office hours period as defined, it'll go straight to the voicemail instead of ringing. If you're forwarding the call to an outside number and the call rebounds, it'll go directly to your voicemail. Rebound means if you have that set, say forward to an external number, you have rebound set, when this call goes out to this person, if they don't answer, it will pull it back onto your extension. Otherwise, all of our options are the same as we saw. And if we go over to Do Not Disturb, we have the same options as we saw on the other screen. I'm going to say, I'm on vacation. So you can change these as often as you need. So you can say, I'm on vacation until Tuesday. I'm on vacation until something. I'm out sick, or whatever you want it to be. So you can change these as often as you like. The last two availability statuses are more customizable. The first is a copy of available, and the second is a copy of Do Not Disturb. By default, they go by the names of lunch and business trip. These can be customized. Say with lunch, I can say I want this to change to working from home. I can change it. See, is green, it means that it is an available status. So I can say I'm working from home, away for lunch, and switch it around. The second is a copy of the Do Not Disturb. They're the same options. You can customize this to something like I'm not at my desk, or I'm on a business trip, or anything you want it to be. The last option is exceptions. Exceptions let you override the availability states to allow, block, or transfer calls no matter what status you're in. This is something that should be used sparingly, as it can cause problems if you forget you have rules in place. To add a rule, we click the plus symbol here. Say we have our caller ID for a number, 88-526-1631, it's our front door number here. Say I always want this to go to someone else. And save. We can add another extension for some number we know that's calling us a lot. We don't want them to call us anymore. No matter what time of the day it is, send busy tone. We just don't want to talk to them. When we click on these rules, you can move them up and down to apply them in different orders. Keep in mind that the caller ID has to be exact for whatever they're sending you from your carrier. If it doesn't match, the rule won't apply, and let's go back to wherever your availability states are set for. If you want to edit one, you click on the edit here and change it. If you want to delete them, you click the X here to just remove them. So now that we have these configured the way we want them, we can go over here to actually use them. So once they're set, they pretty much just are there. You don't have a lot to do with them. They're short and easy to work with, and they'll sit there and do what they need to do. To change statuses, it's as simple as click on the top left and click here. If I want to change the flavor text next to it, I click here. Say, working from another office. You can say I'm just working from a different office in our area, so I can put that there. So I can say, so instead of Ashland, I'm working from Berkeley, or I'm working from Tennessee. I'm still available, I'm still on the clock. Do the same here, so that they all function the same in this area. You have done here also, set status temporarily. Set status temporarily is a code for, like, if you're like me and you forget to set your status off of Do Not Disturb or away, and back to available. So I want to set it to away for an hour. So that's like my lunchtime. Say I'm going on lunch, and after an hour, it will automatically set itself back. Availability statuses are very useful for telling other people where you are and how to reach you if they need to. After configuration is done, which does take a little bit, actually working them is fairly easy. It's just a matter of clicking the option up here to wherever you want it to be.